Good morning. It is March 29th. I'm Shane Seeley and this is the CBC Morning Report. Plans for a fast ferry transport system for Barbados and the region are reportedly back on course, and we're learning this morning that this solution for reducing the cost of regional travel and trade could set sail with some new investment from the United Arab Emirates. News of this from the ambassador to CARICOM, David Comishong. According to him, the Prime Minister has been working on this plan for a while now.
Before COVID, she was actually in the United Arab Emirates seeking to put together financing from that region to establish the fast ferry system. COVID interrupted that mission, but she has now restarted it. So we will be waiting we in CARICOM will be waiting very expectantly to see what results she's able to announce. But yes, for CARICOM, the fast ferry maritime transportation system is critical, because that is going to open up all kinds of trade opportunities within our region, and we are hoping and expecting that some of the critical investment to make that a reality will come from the United Arab Emirates.
Ambassador Comishong there giving his take to the Morning Report regarding the economic possibilities for this new partnership between Bridgetown and Dubai, with the unveiling of that new Barbados embassy in Abu Dhabi over the weekend. He also expects that Barbados will be able to secure investment for the Green Climate Finance Bank, which will be headquartered right here in Barbados.
I can tell you that we are going to look to them to partner with us in confronting the climate crisis. And as you would be aware, Barbados is now in the process of establishing a green climate finance bank that will be headquartered in Barbados and that will provide financing for all kinds of projects designed to help the Caribbean deal with the negative consequences of global warming. So these will be projects that help to preserve our environment, that help to advance our housing stock, that help to make us a more self-reliant and resilient economy.
And we have much more developments coming from that interview with the ambassador, and they will be shared with you right here on the Morning Report. We'll take a break here and come back with COVID-19 updates and the latest on what's happening with the war in Ukraine. Barbados recorded 102 new COVID-19 cases, 47 males and 55 females, and that is from 571 tests conducted on Sunday by the Best dos Santos Public Health Laboratory. Of the positive cases, 17 youngsters were under 18 and 85 individuals were 18 years and older. A total of 47 people were still in isolation facilities, while 826 people were in home isolation. An 88-year-old fully vaccinated man passed away from the virus on Sunday, as at March 27th, there were 331 deaths from the virus. The Public Health Lab has carried out 609,170 tests since February 2020 and recorded 58,634 new COVID-19 cases in general over that period. Now, there's a warning to Barbadians this morning. The pandemic is not over. It's coming from the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. the Most Honorable Kenneth George. He's pleading with Barbadians to continue to get vaccinated even in the midst of various sectors reopening. Aaliyah Briggs has more.
Approximately 65% of Barbados' eligible population is fully vaccinated against COVID-19. But health officials are witnessing a concerning downward trend in the number of people coming forward to be immunized. Chief Medical Officer Dr. the Most Honorable Kenneth George is reminding the public that vaccines are still an effective public health measure in the pandemic.
We continue to have and promote vaccines as an extremely useful public health measure to stem the tide of COVID, particularly in the season as we look to slowly open up with respect to sporting events, with respect to future crop over plans, and with respect to other forms of cultural entertainment.
As government eases COVID-19 restrictions and the entertainment sector reopens, public health safety remains a priority. As such, Dr. George is urging Barbadians to get vaccinated and boosted ahead of the crop-over season. He believes this, coupled with mask wearing and periodic testing, could diminish chances of COVID-19 spikes as new variants emerge.
And how can we make crop-over safe or safer? We can do this by asking people to be tested and or vaccinated. But if we scale up the numbers of individuals who are vaccinated, we will certainly have better protection. There are new variants out there. The threat of COVID has not gone away.
Stressing that the pandemic is not over, he says individuals have a greater responsibility now, although the state will continue to play its part in ensuring the public's health is protected.
Pandemic is not over. Let me say so. What has changed really is our response. The response very early in the pandemic was a state-driven response or Ministry of Health response. But more and more, I think the response has changed to the responsibility of the individual to make good choices to protect themselves. And I think that the state has done much and will continue to do all it can.
Dr. George also indicated that the Ministry of Health will be sending samples to CARFA for genomic sequencing to determine whether any new variants are present in the Barbadian landscape. Aaliyah Briggs, CBC News.
Popular soca star Dexter Stewart, better known as Blacks, died at the intensive care unit of the Arima Hospital in Trinidad yesterday after contracting COVID-19. That's according to his manager. The All-Stars, of which he was the lead singer, issued a statement saying his family, along with his management and members of the band, regretted having to announce his untimely passing. The 61-year-old had been hospitalized since March 4th. In 2020, Blacks was hospitalized with lung and kidney issues. Trinidad and Tobago, for its part, has registered 3,734 deaths and 137,000 infections. The president of Ukraine is continuing his call for support and weapons from Western nations as Russia continues its military bombardment against military and civilian targets in Ukraine. Al Jazeera reports.
The day after multiple Russian missiles hit targets in Lviv in the west of Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelensky demanded world leaders give his country more weapons. His tone taunting at times.
It is planes for Ukraine, it is tanks for our state, it is missile defenses, it is anti-ship weapons. That's what our partners have, just gathering dust. After all this is not only for Ukraine's freedom, but for Europe's freedom. We have already been waiting for 31 days. So who is running the Euro-Atlantic community? Is it still Moscow because of their threats?
On Sunday across Ukraine, prayers for victory and an end to the war.
My mother is 68. She desperately wants to go home. She doesn't believe that the home is not there anymore. In our village, whole streets were destroyed by Russian tanks.
After a month of Russian bombs and shelling, not everyone is willing to turn the other cheek.
Our military needs weapons because we can't stop the war with diplomacy. Diplomacy doesn't work. We don't know Putin's reasons and we cannot convince him by talking. I don't know his reasons, but he is against the whole world.
In Kherson, protesters still being tear-gassed say demonstrations have pushed Russian forces back and they are not in complete control of the city. In Kharkiv, more overnight shelling further devastating a city already heavily battered by Russian strikes. And more evacuations from Mariupol, still the worst affected city of the war. The latest attacks on Lviv came after Moscow announced plans to refocus its military on the Donbas region. Lviv's mayor and its residents say the missile strikes are proof Russia cannot be trusted.
You can still smell the fuel in the air 24 hours after Russian missiles hit the storage facility just over there, pretty much destroying it completely. Now this fuel depot, the fire that was here has been put out. Firefighters have managed to make sure that the facility is now safe, and we have these large fuel trucks here on site to transport the rest of the fuel that is still at that depot away from this area. This is a mixed residential industrial area, and that fuel needs to be removed from here because this location is now considered a known target.
The facility is still standing, but structurally compromised. Salvaging the remaining fuel is important for the war effort and for the safety of this neighborhood, one of the latest to be targeted in this conflict.
It's Tuesday, and it is 6:15. Let's hear from Wendy now. Well, you'll hear from her in about 15 minutes' time as she greets you on the Tuesday edition of Morning Barbados. Wendy, give us a tease of what you have for your viewers.
Well, good morning to you, Shane, and good morning to all of our viewers this morning. Now, this morning, we're going to be going back to the Barbados Trust Fund. They're going to be telling us about some pop-ups they'll be having, the various programs which they offer, a whole set of training exercises, and more. We're also going to be hearing from an author of 2 books in a series, Eavesdropping. She'll tell us exactly what she'll be eavesdropping on. And we will also be talking cricket, Shane. Yes, but cricket coaching. Coach from the CWI has been here, and he's been putting our people through some paces. So we'll hear exactly what he came to do. So details of these stories and more coming up at 6:30, Morning Barbados.
Thank you so much, Wendy. And speaking about books and reading, that's what children need right now with all of the technology and social media being blamed for the undermining of language skills. We'll talk a bit about that situation and a bit more in our news. And we got sports coming your way as well here on the Morning Report. Back with you on the Morning Report. At a time when the proliferation of social media and technology has been blamed for undermining language skills, a primary school is pushing the importance of literacy and writing. The St. Luke Brighton School has been encouraging students there to write compositions weekly on a range of topics. The acting principal, Dr. Debbie Bovell, explains the best works are selected and later compiled into a book that is placed in the public library and also sold in bookstores.
When I came in 2020, we started the practice of letting the students write and go all the way through the writing process to publish their work. So we produced a book in 2020, the class of 2020, and we continued in 2021 with the production of 2 books, the class of 2021 and another one by Jolanne Deere, who was really an enthusiastic and avid writer. She wrote about 10 to 20 compositions all by herself. So we were able to showcase her talent, and we've made these books available for sale at the Days Bookstore and Things Gospel.
Dr. Bovell also revealed the exercise has been helping students in their academics with improvements seen in common entrance grades. However, to boost the project and take it to another level, she's calling on a publisher to come on board.
We are hoping one of these days to find a publisher who can bring the books to the world from our school, so that we don't just have them being available at the national level, but we would want them to be shared with children across the world, because writers inspire other writers. Writers inspire good writing.
Transport Lisa Cummins is contending that many Barbadians do not understand the way government works and the roles and duties of its officers. Senator Cummins outlined the need for senior ministers using the example of the Attorney General.
Many people in the public space may assume that the role of the Attorney General is to treat principally with the police and to deal principally with issues relating to crime and government. But the role of the Office of the Attorney General covers every single aspect of governance and government across the entire country. There is not a piece of legislation, there is not a contract, there is not a lawsuit involving the government that the Office of the Attorney General does not involve. Even the simple matter of directives and COVID management protocols and their administration, those things all fall under the Office of the Attorney General.
Also speaking from the floor of the upper chamber, Deputy President of the Senate Elizabeth Thompson praising Prime Minister Mia Moore-Motley for the policy decision to create senior coordinating ministers. She said it signals that Barbados is reorganizing its governance strategy and strengthening its systems to better serve its citizens.
Often one hears policy articulated or promises made. And while it is the politicians who articulate and bear the responsibility and the blame when there is not delivery, there is often a tremendous gap between the policy intention and the policy implementation. And it is not the politicians who are responsible for the actual day-to-day implementation. And therefore, I see this as a measure intended to structure and deliver on implementation and on the commitments made, the policy commitments made in the manifesto which the Barbados Labour Party presented to the public of Barbados.
Let's go a bit further afield now. The Education Ministry in Jamaica is set to review the use of metal detectors in schools as incidents of violence continue to rise. More in this TVJ report.
It's less than 4 weeks since students resumed full face-to-face classes, and the school administrators are struggling to deal with incidents of violence. Case in point, the stabbing death of 16-year-old Kamal Hall at William Knibb High in Trelawney by his schoolmate during a dispute over a guard ring. Students were also stabbed at Magotty High in St. Elizabeth, Mushat High in Trelawney, and Excelsior High in St. Andrew. Canute Williams, a student of Papine High, was killed while walking in Ligony, St. Andrew. Those reports prompted a high-level meeting with stakeholders in the Education Ministry to reiterate initiatives and strategies to improve safety and security in schools. With weapons like these being confiscated, Education Minister Favour Williams is insisting on the use of metal detectors.
Our records show that 36 schools were selected to benefit from the installation of walk-through metal detectors. 27 schools actually had the walk-through metal detectors installed prior to the COVID.
Handheld metal detectors will also be distributed.
We still have some in our inventory, and these will be made available to replace any defective device as the needs arise. We will be conducting a full audit of metal detectors in school on Monday, all of next week, and then we will have a sense of where the gap is.
2 CCTV cameras, which were donated, will be installed at William Nib to better monitor students. In the meantime, Minister Williams says 930 guidance counselors and 130 deans of discipline are in public schools across the country.
The 2022 Antiguan carnival calendar has been officially announced after stakeholder consultations there with the government. It begins in late July and ends on August 2nd.
There will be Carnival 2022. The official carnival dates run from July 27 to August 2nd, but also include a number of preliminary events. July 22nd will see the band meet the band showdown. The most anticipated event on the carnival calendar, T-shirt Mass, will be held on the 23rd of July. A car show and a celebration honoring the monarch King Shortshirt are slated for July 24. Teen Wave and Drew's Day culminate the preliminary events. Although all the customary carnival events are not on the calendar, there are several traditional shows patrons can look forward to. Opening of Carnival and JC's Caribbean Queen Show will begin the summer festival on July 27. Melting Pot follows on July 28. Then Calypso Monarch competition will be held on the 29th of July. On the 30th of July, Panorama competition takes center stage. Party Monarch competition and the Emancipation Watch Night celebrations are on the 31st of July. Monday 1st of August is the date for Juve, Cultural Cuisine and Carnival Monday activities. And Carnival 2022 wraps up with the Parade of the Bands and Last Lap on the 2nd of August. The Creative Industries Ministry has expressed gratitude to all stakeholders for participating in the Carnival consultations.
Looks like a lot of fun there. Over in St. Kitts and Nevis now, the Prime Minister Timothy Harris has announced a raft of new measures intending to lower the cost of living for people there. The announcement came as he addressed the supporters of the ruling People's Labour Party.
These measures will include measures to reduce gas prices at the pumps, and we will reduce certain taxes and certain items of groceries to make the cost of living more manageable for you. In other words, we are delivering again for you. We are going to extend the income support for those who continue to be unemployed, the $1,000 a month. I think we had in the budget said we will do it for 3 months. We will extend it for another 3 months to help you out because we care, and we will monitor the situation.
Let's take a look at sports now. The West Indies will tour Pakistan for a 3-match ODI series in June, which is part of the 2023 World Cup Super League. Rawalpindi will be the venue for the games, which will take place on June 8th, 10th and 12th, with the visitors arriving in Pakistan on June the 5th. The PCB is yet to decide whether the series will be played in a biosecure bubble and whether the traveling West Indies contingent will have to undergo any quarantine. The PCB also announced that the West Indies have agreed to play 3 T20 internationals in Pakistan in early 2023, with the precise dates yet to be announced. The ODIs were initially part of a West Indies tour of Pakistan in December 2021. At the time, the West Indies were due to play 3 T20s, which they did and lost 3-0. and 3 ODIs. However, the COVID-19 cases began to spiral within the West Indies camp, and with a mutual consent, the ODI leg of the series was postponed. And just some quick update for you on what is happening with some other international ODI cricket. Australia is doing battle with Pakistan, still in Pakistan. This match being played in Lahore, the first of 3 ODIs being played. And Australia have made a blistering start. 42 not out of 5.4 overs. Travis Head doing the damage there. He's 32 of 23 balls. And with him is the captain, Aaron Finch. He's made a slow start, 5 of 11 balls. So yes, that match is happening right now. And of course, you can probably catch that live action on ESPN, MCTV's channel. Let's take a look at the weather now. The temperature on the outside is 24.8 degrees Celsius. You'll see that slightly warmer than what we've been seeing in previous days, and we can expect that that will be getting a little higher as the days progress, as we move into summer. It's fair and slightly hazy on the outside. The relative humidity is 74%. The barometric pressure is up to 1015.4 millibars, and those winds are coming out of the east at 25 kilometers per hour. We will get a low tide at 2 minutes to 8 this morning. There will be a high tide around 1 minute after 2 in the afternoon. There will be another low tide later on tonight at 28 minutes to 9. Those seas are moderate in open water. Swells are peaking at 2 meters and holding steady. Let's look at the forecast now. We had a lot of sun yesterday, no rain at all. Today now will be partly sunny with a few brief isolated light showers. And tonight we will have a mix of clear skies and clouds with a few brief isolated light showers to keep things slightly cool. And here's a quick look at the international weather forecast. That's it for the Tuesday edition of the CBC Morning Report. I'm Shane Seeley. I'll see you at 7 with your headline news. Up next is Wendy Burke with Mornin Barbados.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
Hello and good morning and welcome to Morning Barbados. Here's hoping you having a terrific Thursday so far and that we can make it even better for you here on Morning Barbados. Now this morning we're going to be going to the Barbados Trust Fund loans, and they are going to be talking about some of the things they have coming up, pop-ups, the general workshops, their Let's Talk Entrepreneurship series. All of that we'll deal with this morning. So let me get right to it and welcome Nicole Ford, who is a business development consultant with Barbados Trust Fund Limited, and Mr. Kirk Doughton, who's the business development manager of Barbados Trust Fund Limited. Good morning to you both.
Hi, good morning, Wendy.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Now, let's start with you, Nicole, and this Let's Talk Entrepreneurship series. You would have started just about, what, 2 weeks now, and you're going to be having some more action coming up. Let's hear what's the date, what are the topics?
Well, it starts again on April the 5th, and we have some very exciting topics coming for you. It is kind of slightly different to what we did before because we are changing the concept. It's evolving all the time. The business model grows as kind of puts in their input. We're getting feedback from the public, and so we're changing. And by the time we're finished, we'll have an amazing show. But on the 5th of April, we're actually going to be talking about customer service. We're going to be discussing the disparities between the customer service in big business compared to the customer service in small businesses across the island.
And I'm glad you raised that issue, because there's some who believe that because you're a smaller business that you can give less to your customers, and that they should see it and understand, well, this is a small man struggling to get by, you know, don't give him or her a hard time because they're doing their best.
Well, that is very true. And we're going to have some rousing conversation around that topic. So we're going to have a series of people on. We're actually adding a hostess this week as well. So in addition to Tony Thorne, we're going to have Stephanie Chase, former Miss Barbados, and influencer for BTFL. She's going to be on, and the two of them are going to have a rousing discussion around exactly what you talked about, whether or not we should let small businesses off the hook if they give us bad service, whether or not we should really be out there waving flags and saying, you know, like, hooray, we had a great time at this location, and giving accolades to those people who are really giving us great service, or what we should be doing. In addition to that, we're going to have our very own Sean Callender. He is our trainer on customer service, and he will be kind of driving us into what makes great customer service, how you should be working with your customers, what you should be doing to get more referrals, how you can be retaining more customers, all those great topics. We're also going to have on Mark Ant as well, who obviously is a very well-known customer service icon in Barbados for many years. And we're going to get his views on what he thinks customer service is all about. So it's going to be a very, very exciting show.
Sounds that way. Now, Kirk, there's also some excitement you've been generating in the community with your various initiatives and your pop-ups. What can we look forward to this week?
Hi, good morning. This week, yes, we started our first community-based pop-up in St. John yesterday at the Gore Hill Resort Center. And we have in participation approximately 25 persons from the constituency of St. John. And that training, as I said, is the first that we've done since we would have been impacted by COVID. We used to do them before, where we had them in 2020. We did St. Peter, St. Lucie, St. George, and St. James. But due to the COVID, we had to bring most of the training online. So we actually started yesterday in St. John, and that's going on currently at the Gold Hill Resort Center, where we have 25 persons in training, and there will be practically be undertaking training in financial management, customer service, introduction to marketing, and introduction to management.
Okay, now, is it hope that the individuals who are within these training modules, that they then will help to form some of these community clusters which you have in terms of the entrepreneurs?
Yes, that is the intention. And the BTFL staff, we would do the training, and then we will be periodically meeting with these persons in terms of trying to form the cluster. And the whole direction is to create community clusters, community business networks, so that at the end of the day, when the BTFL moves out of the community, these clusters can stand on their own, having a representative or representatives from within, say for instance, St. John, to really manage the cluster. And from yesterday's session, what I observed, we have persons in agriculture, and we have persons involved in food. So the whole idea is that if you own a restaurant or food establishment, you should be getting your vegetables from, from your colleague in St. John. If you want pork, chicken, you should also be getting your meats from your colleague in St. John. So the whole idea is to have these businesses that were sustainable for over a long period of time.
And this is something that we've been encouraging a lot of small business people to do for some time, because if each one helps one, it makes business grow. We can stimulate each other, not just in the community we're in at that point in time, but we can spread to the neighboring community, and it keeps stepping along like that. So I'm happy to see that we're getting back to that community foundation and letting people focus on where their market starts initially, and that is in their home base. So that's great to hear. But I understand also, Kirk, that you've been able to get corporate Barbados on board with you for some of your pop-ups. Big business helping small business.
Yes. And if we really look at the system with microfinance, some people say trust loan is microfinance, but if we really take a look at how business works throughout the world, as particularly if there's a microfinance section, there's always a merger between the macro and the micro. And to have, we can say, a corporate Barbados on board supporting microfinance is key, because at the end of the day, from the trust loan point of view, we start at the micro level, and seeing the evolution of business, you start at the micro level, and with the proper training and the proper business development that we are going to provide, not only from the trust loan point of view, but pulling in from the resources that we have in the system that we have here in Barbados, to try to get businesses to move from one point to the next. The graduation is necessary, true, is necessary. So you're moving from a trust loan point of view, and then probably going to a big lender like Fund Access or the credit union. So to have corporate Barbados on board is fundamental to the development of the microfinance sector.
Now, Nicole, there was a fear last week with your particular minister, Minister Kerry Simmons. Did any BTFL clients participate, and what did they say it was like for them?
Well, the BTFL clients really had a great time at the business fair on Friday. In fact, the BTFL staff members, all the public, everyone came out. It was such an interactive experience. Everybody made good sales, they made great contacts, and we expect that there should be a lot of future business that has been generated from that. Some of the clients that we had that were doing their showcase will also be featured on Let's Talk Entrepreneurship in the coming episodes. So this week we were out and about doing something as it relates to Let's Talk Entrepreneurship. We would have met with clients like Wusa Wines, Leisha's Wines. We would have talked to, and they are two people that are also in Kirk's wine cluster. We would have talked to Baobab Beauty, and then Utopia Blends as well. They were also at the fair. And these are young entrepreneurs that are up and coming, that have fantastic products that we should all be looking out for on our shelves. Utopia Blends actually is a blend of flavored cooking oils, and she was the winner of the Pitch It competition that we had a few months ago. So there are lots of entrepreneurs that we will be featuring within the coming weeks in the Entrepreneurship show. In addition to that, we also have a future tech segment, which will be featuring Dale Trotman, and he is Med Regis. He does emergency medical management systems, and it is a new, the new wave of how we should be managing healthcare in Barbados.
Yeah, we're very familiar with him. He was on the program before. A really innovative system of managing medical data and so on. Quite interesting lad he was. Yeah. Now, you mentioned something about competitions and the Pitch It. Are there any other competition-like projects that are going to be coming on stream shortly?
Oh my. We will actually be working on revamping the Pitch It initiative, and it should be bigger and better come this summer. We are hoping to do some really, really exciting things with it. I do not even know what I can drop. I think I should defer to Kirk so that I don't give too much away. He would know what he can give and what can't be.
Okay, let's hear from you, Kirk.
Well, as Nicole said, we're actually revamping the Let's Pitch It, because we just did a pilot late last year, and the response from that has been well, and we've got a lot of feedback from our staff, who plays a very critical role in everything we build out. And I just want to say a special good morning to the general manager, Gerald Amos, and the management team and the staff, who, as I said, they are very cooperative in all the efforts put forward by the business development department. And we actually in the process now of revamping Pitch It, more sponsorship and more engagement with the public in terms of making it something big, because the whole idea from the trust loan point of view is to get everyone at every level, especially our young people, involved in entrepreneurship from a very early stage. So the program will be more catered towards the young persons and getting their ideas, getting them to pitch the ideas to the team to see how we can, initially they would want to win the program, but to then after winning the program, see how we from the trust loan can assist along with our stakeholders in building up these programs from the incubator stage. So as Nicole said, it's going to be very exciting. So I just want to encourage the public to look forward to Pitch It, but at this present time, tune in to Let's Start Entrepreneurship and see a lot coming from the BTFL in the coming months.
Now, Kirk, before we get ready to wrap up, in terms of the programs that you've been doing at the community level, you're currently in St. John. So what's the next parish that can look out for you?
Well, the next parish we're going to be in St. James, and then we're going to be moving on. I think St. James, we started at St. John, St. James, we're going to move it on to St. Thomas, and we have St. George in the mix. I can't remember exactly the particular month, but I know St. James is next. And I just want to, as Nicole would have said something there about the cluster, I just want to get this over to the public. And one of our cluster programs, like those persons, some of those persons who would have attended the fair on Friday. Now, in 2021, we started a wine cluster and an agribusiness cluster. But particularly, I want to speak about the wine cluster, whereas we have persons who are in the manufacture of fruit wines and rum punches and alcoholic cocktails, and we would have taken these persons through a phase series of product development. Whereas for the fruit wine manufacturers, through our consultant, I want to also give props to the consultant from Venables, Onika John. She would have coordinated the workshops for us. We would have had 2 established wine manufacturers from overseas, and these persons within the cluster would have learned about the sanitary conditions and the correct procedures for manufacturing wine, the correct yeast to be using for the manufacture of the wines.
So therefore it means we're taking them to the next level then?
Yes.
Okay. But that's awesome to know. Yes. So I want to wish both you and Nicole a really, really good morning. Kirk Dotton. And the Talk Entrepreneurship program, which is going to be on April 5th. And as you told us, Nicole, there's going to be a lot to look forward to. So let's hope that we can listen in and join that session, which will be dealing with customer service. Mr. Kirk Dotton, Business Development Manager, and Nicole Ford, Consultant with the Barbados Trust Funds Limited. Want to thank you so much for joining us this morning here on Morning Barbados.
Thank you so much for having us. We look forward to getting the public to come and hear and engage with us on what their customer service experiences have been like, the good and the bad. You can WhatsApp us at 228-3275, or you can join us at Trust Loans Barbados Ltd on our social.
Okay, thank you so much. Have an enjoyable morning.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that's the Barbados Trust Fund Loan there. Be sure to tune in to see what it is they're up to and how it may be able to help your small business, even if you're not one of the recipients of a trust fund loan. Well, next up, we will be turning some pages and we're going to be eavesdropping. You'll hear more in a bit.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And welcome back to Morning Barbados. For those of you who are joining us now, thanks for joining in. Now, we are going to be talking eavesdropping, but it's in a different way. It's a book series done by Kamara Harding, and she's a content manager for Your Teen Media, a reading addict, a mistake maker, and reformed fundraiser. She's also an organizational development executive. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on this morning.
Well, we're happy to have you. Now, you're talking about something and you've put it into words, something that we in the Caribbean do often without sometimes even realizing, eavesdropping. But you have decided to use those little tidbits you would have heard here and there and put them down on pages. Tell me why.
Well, it all began with, before I put them on pages, I put them on social media because I would overhear things or maybe participate in tidbits of conversation that I found fun or interesting. And I started putting them up on social media, especially Facebook. And my friends loved them. And they kept saying, you should make a book, you should make a book. And I was like, oh, I'll get to it. Busy mom, I work, I had a lot to do. And I finally, like a lot of people did, during the pandemic, when we all shut down in March of 2020, decided I needed to get to that to-do list. And on that to-do list was compiling all of that eavesdropping stuff that I had been putting online. And it turned out I had such a volume that I had enough to make a 3-book series.
Awesome. Now let's talk about the first one, love and romance. Now it says the collection of conversations showcases our most intimate moments, speaking with future, current, and past lovers. Some of us don't like to return to the past because we regret what we've been involved in. So tell us how you're going to take us through that, because it says, some feelings of deja vu will come up. So tell me about it.
Well, it's a lot of fun, and we can learn from our past. Sometimes we need to just think about it a little bit so we don't repeat our mistakes. But these are fun vignettes between couples at different stages. Some I've overheard, some I've participated in, and it's just some I've imagined. And it's a lot of fun, the things that couples go through. Sometimes it's the silly things like the morning conversations about you're taking up too much space in the bathroom while I'm trying to get ready for work. And some of it is the very romantic marriage proposal and everything in between. When you first meet, what they now call the meet cute, and all kinds of fun stuff in between.
Okay, so that's good. And it's something that will transcend all worlds, not necessarily germane to any particular society or nationality or anything of the like.
Absolutely. There's something for someone in here, and for everyone. If you don't find one conversation that resonates for you, the next one probably will.
Okay. Now, the other thing is family fun. And you work a bit with children and family. You're part of Mom's Night Out, also the Parenting Odyssey series, etc. So tell me about the family aspects of it.
The family aspect is really my main thing that I do. I am online known as the Try Hard Mommy, and for almost 2 decades now, I've been in the mommy sphere, talking about all things parenting, motherhood, marriage, trying to do it humorously, but not always humorously. Sometimes there are very serious things we need to talk about. As you mentioned, I also work for Your Teen Media, which means I have it coming at me all different ways. So the family fun is the one that people most associate me with, because when they think of me, they think of safe spaces to talk about parenting and humor and the silly things that our kids have said to us or we've heard or seen kids do outside in public, because, oh my goodness, they don't intend to be, but they can be very funny. So I put those all down too. People really like those because in that situation, you've probably been on one or either end of it. If you're not a parent, you've probably been a child in that situation.
Now, you also have some roots and grounding within the Caribbean region.
I am very much a Caribbean mixture. I'm actually first born American. So my mom was Panamanian, my father is Jamaican, but my maternal great-grandfather's from Barbados. And I actually have his christening certificate from St. Lucie Parish, and my mother's stepfather was also from Barbados. So I have Bajan in me, Jamaican, Panamanian, tad bit of Cuban.
And how do you use those Caribbean links to look at parenting? Because parenting, each part of the world is done a little differently. There are some similarities, but do you lend to it in your book?
I am very much a Caribbean parent. I'm the child of immigrants. My parents did an excellent job, so I'm not going to try to recreate the wheel. I can take the best of what they did. My children will tell you that they were raised with the immigrant mindset, so much so that our youngest, who's 18, all of his closest friends are also children of immigrants. They're from maybe different parts of the world, but there's a certain mindset when you come to the USA and you've come from another place. There's a certain way that you parent. You're a little stricter. You're put a little more emphasis on the schoolwork. There's less freedom for certain things, even if you're progressive. There's only so progressive you'll be.
Okay, and is all of this contained on those pages?
Yes, you can see it coming in. You can see it coming out. You can tell which ones are really me, and you can see when you read it, and you'll see that our son will say something, and he'll test me, and I'll say something like, "Have we just met? Are you new to this family?" That's not how we do these things. It's also some of the more community-wide things like the Sunday dinner and you're going to go out and do this for the neighbor without question. That kind of stuff that has lost its way somewhat in certain other environments.
Somewhat, or disappeared completely?
I'll say that depends where you are. I know some people who are holding firm, and we're trying to hold firm in our home.
Yeah, you have to try to do that. So what makes you want to assist other parents with a parenting prescription? You know, what do you look around and see that made you want to do this book?
Well, about 20 years ago, when I first started into the parenting landscape, the world was very white, very upper middle class white American. And although there are lots of commonalities, there's a different way to view things when you come from a different background. And I saw that I wasn't represented, which meant other people like me and other types of people weren't represented. So I wanted to provide a safe space just for us to share our stories and to view the same situation, but through our particular lens. Over time, that has changed. Through my role at Your Teen Media, I do a lot of work with experts and people who are dealing with teenagers. Our audience is adults who are raised in teens and tweens, so young people ages 12 to 19. And every Tuesday morning, I do a show. It's called Tuesdays with Kamira, and it's live online. And I interview experts or people with experience that would be of interest to adults who are raising teens. And it can be anything from fun stuff to taking care of yourself, to funny things that teens do, to talking about suicide ideation. It can be anything as long as it's pertaining to those who are raising teens. And we find that it's very helpful. I find that that's the most gratifying thing that I do in my week, is be able to present half an hour of parenting information, something that's going to help somebody out in the world who's logged in.
Yeah, that's awesome to know, because there are parents out there who need that additional help, because we all don't have the answers. And children can switch on you so quickly. As a little baby, they're, whiny. Then when they get to that primary school stage, they go really quiet and they become withdrawn. Secondary school comes or high school comes and they become an extrovert once again. So it's a little, a bit of a roller coaster in terms of that parenting cycle. Now tell me where I can get these two books.
The books are available on Amazon. But if you want a one-stop place, if you go to my website, tryhardmommy.com, you'll find the Amazon links for both of the books, and a third one will be coming out soon. And you'll also find the link to the Parenting Odyssey book, which is another one that you mentioned. So that's probably easiest. There you can access my social media channels and the purchase buttons for the books.
And we can also find you today on Try Hard Mommy, because you said Tuesday's your day.
It is, but usually, interesting enough, I'm not doing this week. I'm doing Thursday, just because we had every so often I switch Tuesday and Thursdays, and it's on Your Teen for Parents Facebook page, YouTube channel, or Twitter account. And you go there at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, and for half an hour I will be interviewing an expert. On this Thursday, which is an anomaly, but Thursday this week, I will be talking with an addiction specialist, a psychiatrist, about substance use and addiction in teens.
Yeah, and that's a very pertinent topic at this time. And it's not just the substances we know, but children find a way to experiment. So, Kamara, I am very happy to have met you this morning to talk a bit about your eavesdropping. Don't stop listening in, because heaven knows it might be another book, or it might help a parent out who really needs it. Want to thank you again for joining us on Morning Barbados, Kamara Harding, and all the best of luck to you with these books and in your parenting series that you have online.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. Thank you for having me on.
It was great having you. Have an awesome morning.
You too.
That was the author Kamara Harding telling us all about parenting and her two books, Eavesdropping, the series, Love and Romance, and Family Fun. She would have given you the information. Go check her out. When Morning Barbados returns, we'll be having some headline news with Shane Seeley.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And we're back with Morning Barbados. It's time now to find out what's happening on the news.
Here's your headline news for this Tuesday, March 29th. Plans for the long-proposed fast ferry transport system for Barbados and the region appear to be back on course, with the potential for new investment from the United Arab Emirates. Barbados' ambassador to CARICOM, David Cominchong, has been speaking about the possibilities surrounding the development. According to him, the Prime Minister has been working on the plan.
Before COVID, she was actually in the United Arab Emirates seeking to put together financing from that region to establish the fast ferry system. COVID interrupted that mission, but she has now restarted it. So we will be waiting we in CARICOM will be waiting very expectantly to see what results she's able to announce. But yes, for CARICOM, the fast ferry maritime transportation system is critical, because that is going to open up all kinds of trade opportunities within our region. And we are hoping and expecting that some of the critical investment to make that a reality will come from the United Arab Emirates.
Ambassador Comishong, they're giving his take on the morning report regarding the economic possibilities for this new partnership between Bridgetown and Dubai. And this also coincides with the unveiling of the new Barbados embassy in Abu Dhabi over the weekend. He also expects that Barbados will be able to secure investment for the Green Climate Finance Bank, which will be headquartered right here in Barbados.
I can tell you that we are going to look to them to partner with us in confronting the climate crisis. And as you would be aware, Barbados is now in the process of establishing a green climate finance bank that will be headquartered in Barbados and that will provide financing for all kinds of projects designed to help the Caribbean deal with the negative consequences of global warming. So these will be projects that help to preserve our environment, that help to advance our housing stock, that help to make us a more self-reliant and resilient economy.
In other news, Barbados recorded 102 new COVID-19 cases, 47 males and 55 females, from 571 tests conducted by the Best dos Santos Public Health Laboratory. Those tests were conducted on Sunday. Of those positive cases, 17 individuals were under the age of 18 and 85 people were 18 years and older. A total of 47 people were in isolation facilities up to that date, while 826 people were in home isolation. An 88-year-old fully vaccinated man passed away from the virus on Sunday, as at March 27th, there were 321 deaths from the virus. A government minister defending the Mia Mottley administration's move to create a post for senior coordinating ministers. Speaking in the Senate, the Minister of Tourism and International Transport, Lisa Cummins, outlined the need for these senior ministers, using the example of the Attorney General.
Many people in the public space may assume that the role of the Attorney General is to treat principally with the police and to deal principally with issues relating to crime and government. But the role of the Office of the Attorney General covers every single aspect of governance and government across the entire country. There is not a piece of legislation, there is not a contract, there is not a lawsuit involving the government that the Office of the Attorney General does not involve. Even the simple matter of directives and COVID management protocols and their administration, those things all fall under the Office of the Attorney General.
Meanwhile, the Deputy President of the Senate, Elizabeth Thompson, praised the Prime Minister Mia Mottley for the policy decision to create senior coordinating ministers. She said it signals that Barbados is reorganizing its governance and strengthening its systems to better serve its citizens.
Often one hears policy articulated or promises made. And while it is the politicians who articulate and bear the responsibility and the blame when there is not delivery, there is often a tremendous gap between the policy intention and the policy implementation. And it is not the politicians who are responsible for the actual day-to-day implementation. And therefore, I see this as a measure intended to structure and deliver on implementation and on the commitments made, the policy commitments made in the manifesto which the Barbados Labour Party presented to the public of Barbados.
And that's your headline news for this Tuesday, March 29th. I'm Shane Seeley. It's back over to you, Wendy.
Why, thank you, Shane. And I'm sure that we'll have some more news to look forward to later in the day at noon. And it's going to be a break now, but when we come back, we're going to be hearing some things you need to know about real estate and why you shouldn't follow the Joneses. We'll be back in a bit.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And good morning to you. It's time to talk real estate. And with us, we have agent Sharita Odell. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Wendy. Good to see you.
Great to see you too. Now, you're going to take us through 5 reasons this morning why keeping up with the Joneses will make you a horrible homeowner. Let's start the list.
Well, first of all, we need to ascertain what does keeping up with the Joneses mean. And, it's a phrase that we've used forever, but essentially it is looking at the accumulated wealth, assets, gadgets that your neighbors and friends have and somehow being doggedly determined to keep up with them. And as you know, it will add stress to your life because technology, everything is always evolving. So even if you get the latest iPhone or Samsung, there's something else coming 3 weeks later. So can you really ever keep up? So today we're going to look at 5 reasons that you can't be a good homeowner if that is your plan in life. So the aim is after this, you're going to reset your value system and make some changes.
Okay, so number 1.
All right. So number 1, keeping up often means investing in depreciating assets. And so you find that to keep up, you're looking for stuff that's shiny and brilliant and makes you look good and perhaps look as if you're wealthy. So what do you go for? You go for a fancy car. And you don't just buy a second-hand car like I like to do. I've never owned a new car in my life. You go for the brand new car that as soon as you drive off the lot, the value goes down. Sometimes as much as by 20%. As soon as you get the receipt for things, furniture, whatever, the value is already gone down. So that is number 1, investing in depreciating assets.
Number 2?
Number 2, what ends up happening is that your lifestyle turns into one of spending. So guess what's going to happen? Lack of savings. You're going to have high debt and, of course, low investments. So the instruments that are meant to sustain wealth over time, you're not focusing on those because you need the now. So a high level of consumerism means less money put aside. And that's where a lot of people got caught. When COVID came along, there were no savings instruments there, not enough for emergencies. And you're more likely to go into credit card debt. You don't have any mutual funds put down. So imagine now when it comes time to wanting to buy a house, you just don't have enough at it.
Or your debt is so great that you don't qualify. So even though your salary will be able to cover the mortgage, the debt you have, the debt to savings to salary ratio is such that you're left with nothing.
That's it right there. Correct.
Okay.
So number 3, suppose you did somehow make it to owning a home. Perhaps you had a double income coming in, so you made it. But then what happens? Your spending lifestyle is continuing because you gotta look good. But the more money you spend, here's what happens. Home bills pile up. Utility bills pile up. So you might have the cute little house, but every month you're like, oh gosh, not again. And you're hiding bills under the carpet. And a lot of people who get into this rat race find themselves, they just can't keep up. So you're almost living check to check. And guess what? Things like keeping the electricity on and keeping the water running, you put in last place. You don't put those things first. And whatever happens to be left over, you then throw at those bills. So they continue to pile and pile, making you a horrible homeowner.
So our third really is that we forget what our priorities are financially, essentially. Shopping over sustaining.
Yes, I've seen it.
That's interesting because we need the light, we need the water, we need the gas to help sustain us. So that's pretty interesting. And number 4?
Number 4, you could end up with an over-renovated house, and then when it's time to sell it, it is undervalued. Let me explain. You live in Hoodlum Heights, and you decide, you know what? I saw on Pinterest this sauna. Let me try out this sauna thing in the backyard. So all of a sudden you have a sauna. There you get a few coppers as a bonus at the end of the year in terms of throwing it to your mortgage. You're like, no, 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 no. Time to upgrade to some Calcutta marble in the kitchen. And all of a sudden, you happen to sell your car, and instead of reinvesting in something else that is an appreciating asset, you decide it's the perfect time for those $80,000 bedroom closets. So what happens? You might be the brightest, shiniest thing in the neighborhood, but when you are at the top of the ladder in the neighborhood, it's hard to get your house sold because the valuer is going to come in and he's not valuing your house any more than the neighborhood dictates. So the 100,000 that you injected in your house to look as if you had it going on means absolutely nothing when it comes time to seeing what your house is truly valued.
No, let's get this straight. I have decided to overspend $500,000 on a home because I want all of these additional amenities and luxury type items contained therein, whether it be my bedroom, my bathroom, or my kitchen. You're then saying to me that after I assume that I'm creating a system of appreciation on the value of my home, I'm actually still at ground zero because it's going to be assessed against what all the others in my neighborhood are?
Yes. So for example, let's say we go into neighborhood XYZ in Wanstead. If hypothetically the land out there is valued at, I'm just saying $23 a square foot, right? A valuer is going to come, he's going to make an assessment of the land. He's going to come and look primarily at the condition of the house and the house itself and make an assessment of the house. Okay, so yes, things like kitchens and bathrooms do add value, but if the houses in this neighborhood are dictating a value of, I'm just saying hypothetically again, $300 a square foot. Because you put in that marble and those closets, doesn't mean all of a sudden just for you, boo, we're jumping to $500 a square foot. No, because then what's going to happen when it comes to selling the rest of the houses in the neighborhood? Your house would have set the precedent of $500 per square foot for the house itself? No. So remember, when a valuer does an assessment, a lot of it is based on comparable properties and the square footage price in your neighborhood. Okay. So yes, you putting in all that stuff doesn't exempt you.
That's interesting to know. As you said, it's oversold but undervalued. Quite interesting. Now, what's our number 5?
Number 5, how can you enjoy home ownership if you are forever exhausted? Keeping up with the Joneses is like chasing waterfalls. You never, ever, ever, ever arrive, number 1. And number 2, you're living somebody else's dream and vision. You don't even know what your vision truly is for you because you've never sat down with yourself and said, what do I really want for me to advance? You're always looking at, here I am looking at Wendy, here I am looking at Pearson, here I am looking at John, and trying to keep up with all these, these people, and I don't have my own system in place aligned with my own purpose.
Could that perhaps explain why sometimes you may see a property in a neighborhood and the extensions on it all look rather peculiar, or they aren't all the same color or the same type of finishes, and it looks kind of ad hoc and like, okay, I had this idea last night in a dream, so I woke up and got the carpenter to come in and put it on, or I called the mason to move these 3 windows and put on this extension, but it still doesn't gel with the overall aesthetics of the general building, which is the main structure of the house?
Correct. I have been to a house already where I went in the bedroom and I'm like, what is this? Just at the end of the bed is a jacuzzi tub, which it didn't match back with the house. It didn't match back with the area. And then guess what? People coming to look at the house were so distracted, like me, like what is this madness, that they could not focus. The house just ended up standing out as something too extra. So that's the thing. When you do all these different things to look the part, or because you saw it in a magazine, or your friend Sally has it, who's to say that it aligns with what your property is built for?
And that's interesting, because if you're building not based on your own interests or your own family structure, and you're just building based on what somebody else has, then you're never really going to get the true value, or you're not going to have a home, you're just going to have a house.
That's the thing. Home is where the heart is, and people forget about that. They're like, heart? What? No. Home is this palatial structure that I am going after because I have achieved in life, and I want to show it. I want to show my status. I want to wear my status on my sleeve, and I'm going to inject everything in here that makes me look as if I have arrived. And that poor property is there struggling, saying, no more. Don't, please, just stop. Just stop it.
Interesting. Now, if we can go back to the whole issue of the debt and not having sufficient savings to get that home. Now, initially, say I'm renting, and I realize that the neighbors next door to where I rent have this awesome looking home. They've told me who their mortgage came through, etc. And they invite me in for the grand tour. I like what I see, and I've been thinking about using some land that I have gifted to me from grandparents, to put a structure on. There's some who might say to you, what is so wrong with borrowing a concept or an idea from the Joneses to start what I want?
Nothing wrong with that at all. It's called inspiration. However, if it supersedes what your budget can handle, if it supersedes what is, we often don't sit down and look at these things. Financial planning is necessary through all aspects and stages of life. And nothing wrong with being inspired to build something that is going to make you feel happy. The challenge comes where no matter what you build, no matter what you do, your level of satisfaction will never get to the pinnacle, because it's always a chase. Keeping up with the Joneses is a phrase that literally means you are chasing something that you will never, ever grasp. That's where the problem lies, Wendy. Going after something that you'll never be fulfilled.
And that's an important goal, is it not, in terms of home ownership? Because you need to be satisfied to a level, because if for any reason you should have to sell that home, you might be moving abroad, you might get married and move to your spouse's home. If for any reason you should have to put it on the market, you should be comfortable with what it is you want to pass on to another homeowner, shouldn't you?
You would think. And that's where the challenge comes a lot of the time with selling a property. You see, nothing wrong with customizing a house to you, but if there is the potential of selling it later on, you have to make those customizations that are a bit unique and extra or super quirky. You have to make sure there are those customizations that can easily be removed, because
like
part
a
of selling a property. Oh yes. But weirdly enough, I have sold a property in Barbados. Listen to this, with a fireplace, and you know what made the buyers like it? The fireplace. I was so confused.
Okay, yeah, it's interesting.
I'm confused.
You know, but let's not be horrible homeowners and let's not try to keep up with the Joneses. So it's all about getting our debt right to ensure that we can secure that home. Is it not, Sharita?
Yes, it is about staying in your lane and loving you. Sit down and look at your value system. Sometimes a lot of this comes from low self-esteem. You don't believe in what you're bringing to the table. You don't think what you are going to put out there is enough. So a lot of it starts with that, internal search. The house and so forth is just an extension of how you are feeling, and you just don't feel that you are the part yet. And sadly, no matter what you do, you will never feel that way.
Well, let's hope that most of our homeowners don't fall into that tailspin and that they won't try to keep up with the Joneses, but will get a house and also a home. I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning, Agent Sharita Odell. You can find her on IG at Agent Sharita or on Facebook, Barbados Real Estate 246. Thanks for joining us, Sharita, and we will try not to be like the Joneses. Have a great morning.
Take care.
Take care. That's Agent Sharita. Well, it's time for a break, and when we come back, we'll be talking cricket coaching with Chris Brabazon. He's going to tell us all about some development work he's been here doing in Barbados.
Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Welcome back to Morning Barbados. We're going to be talking cricket coaching now. And joining me is Chris Brabazon. He's the Coach Development Manager with Cricket West Indies. Good morning to you, Chris.
Good morning, Wendy. Thanks for having me.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you. Now, we all in Barbados and within CARICOM are always behind the West Indies. And we want to know that we're having the best, not only bowlers, batsmen, but also the best coaches on hand to take our teams where we need to have them. Now, you've been here doing a number of training courses for the CWI to assess, upskill, and accredit our coaches. Tell me a bit about the program.
Yeah, so we've actually been running concurrent coaching courses across the weekend. We started with a level 1 coaching course Saturday, which continued through Sunday. So that one's pitched more to our entry-level coaches who are indicatively working with players in the sort of under 15s sort of bracket. Probably right down to, I guess, under 8s, under 9s players. So just making sure the kids are having a really good experience there and being engaged in the game, loving their cricket, and also developing the requisite skills to make the next step, potentially into talent programs. So that was a really key sort of aspect of the trip. We had 13 participants take part in that, which was outstanding, including 4 female coaches, which is even better. We really need some more female representation in our coaching ranks, and it was great to see the ladies come along and really, they really led the way, which was really good to see. So, so level 1 was part of it, and then concurrently the level 2 coaching course, which essentially for the talent side of the pathway. So this is, I guess, as players get identified as having talent, moving into junior national teams perhaps, we need coaches there who can really provide a good experience to them and really develop their skills and give them the individual attention that they need. So they actually kicked off Friday night with some biomechanics modules, so that was good fun Friday night with some of the participants, and again continued across the weekend, both Saturday and Sunday. So so we squeezed a lot into the weekend or the last few days, but they were sort of 2 key aspects. I guess the other part from my point of view was I've been here for almost a week, and when I first came over, the first couple of days I spent some time with a couple of our high performance coaches. So these are coaches who are taking part in our 12-month level 3 coaching program. So very intense program. A lot of it's been delivered remotely, so we've had a lot of online modules covering a lot of the softer skills of cricket. But it's been great to actually get out and get my feet on the grass at Pickwick Cricket Club and at Kensington Oval and actually see some coaches face to face. It's been a lot of Zoom and all the rest of it, but we're finally getting things moving.
Now, in terms of the sport, because the Barbados Cricket Association has been assisting you as well in terms of getting all of these sessions together, after coming from all of that online interaction, what was it really like being there on the ground, getting to go through paces, getting to explain, show firsthand, explain what really needs to be done? How was that? Did you find that most of the folks readjusted quickly, or that the learning process sunk in faster because they were actually able to question and quiz you on the spot?
Yeah, I think it was fantastic to see the coaches were so eager. I think it's just been so long since we've been able to run coaching courses face to face. I think everyone really enjoyed that face to face interaction, which I know I certainly did. I guess one of the key things that stood out for me in both courses was the coaches were real students of the game. They were very knowledgeable, which made our jobs as facilitators quite easy because we had a lot of interaction across the group. In the level 2 course, for instance, we had former international players and some current. So we had Shane Dowrich, Kirk Edwards. We had guys of this sort of calibre who were really sort of leading the charge and really sharing their knowledge. I think Shane Mosley's another really good coaching prospect coming through. So even though that some of these players are still playing, we're really gearing them up for life after playing and smooth transition into coaching ranks. So
I'm glad you mentioned that, the whole idea of the sports transition, because the school of thought is that if you've played cricket, you can coach cricket. But is that necessarily, a smooth transition always? Or do you find you have to get some people back to the rudiments of the game and to a game that is wider than what they play?
Yeah, I think that is a massive sort of misnomer about past players, and a lot of times past greats. They've dominated the game, they've got a lot of good technical knowledge, and they're very clear on what worked for them. One of the key things and what our courses now focus on is how we actually pass on all of that good stuff. And gone are the days where the kids would sit on a hill and listen to someone talk for half an hour about front foot defence. So we're just looking at sort of contemporary ways to really connect with the younger generations and pass on messages. And a lot of the times it doesn't involve the coach doing a lot of talking. It involves the coach actually setting the environment that will elicit the outcome we're looking for. So I think it was great that the current crop of players and guys that are sort of just out of playing are sort of being proactive and getting involved in coaching courses. But one of the things we really encourage all the cohorts to do is actually coach. So being on a coaching course, going through an assessment is one thing, but you really learn your trade and sort of refine your craft, because it is a real profession. You can only do that through actually coaching. So I think even for the guys who are currently playing, they can practice on their teammates, they can help their current coaches at training sessions, and there's things that they can do and keep sort of upskilling themselves so that when they finish playing, they can transition into coaching, and it's not a really rude shock that all of a sudden I've now got all these support staff to manage. I've now got all of these players who are looking my way as to what they need and what they want to get out of each session and each season. So they can actually start not only sort of getting the theoretical components down pat and solid in their minds, but they can actually practice this. They can actually practice their coaching beforehand.
Okay.
So
well, and now we're open. And now we're open, they can get that opportunity to practice. Now, the University of the West Indies was also in partnership with this training at level 1 to level 3. Was it through their high performance center?
So it was working with a couple of our UE coach developers out of Trinidad. So the guys have been involved in sort of helping revamp our courses from back as far as 2018. So it was a little bit before I started, but then I've been working very closely with those guys just to make sure that our coaching courses, mainly level 2 and then our level 3 course, line up to our our cricket pathway and the types of players that we're trying to bring through the system. So those guys have been fantastic. But yeah, I wouldn't say it was strictly through the High Performance Centre, but it was definitely collaboration with you who have been fantastic.
Okay, well, that's great to know, because we all have to come on board and do our part for cricket. Now, you'd mentioned that there were some good guys from the past who came out and were there. I think among them were Rohan Nurse, Robin Paris, and Hendy Springer, and they, would have been part of the cricket history of Barbados. Looking at them, though, do you think others translate as well, or are able to pick up that knowledge that is needed in terms of book theory, practical in the field, and be able to transfer it to others on the field of play?
Yeah, I think the technical basics of the game are largely the same. I don't think that bit sort of changes much. Some of the shots might be a little bit funkier these days, and some of the fielding might be a bit more dynamic. But I think the gentlemen you just spoke about there are very, very up to date. So they've kept abreast of all the developments across not just coaching but coach development, and they're really well placed to sort of pass on these contemporary theories around where cricket's heading, and they've just got a really sort of giving nature about them too. So those three gentlemen you just mentioned are pretty much, now that they've sort of actually helped us deliver the revamped coaching course, it's over to them. They can actually deliver that locally now. It's not dependent upon CWI or myself. As much as I love Barbados, they can deliver the course locally now without having me having to come into Barbados. So fantastic
they're fully
people.
accredited. Yeah. They're now fully accredited thanks to you.
Well, thanks to them. So it was good. It was good to spend some time, and like I said, they already know a lot of stuff. It was just more so, here's the new course. Let's get involved and have a go at it, and they did. And the early feedback we've had from the participants has been positive. So so it's over to the guys now. They can run a little bit more of the coaching course stuff, and that bodes well locally, because it means that we can run more courses when they're required in the region, and they can be the north of the island, the east, the west, back at Kensington, but it's a much more sort of nimble product that is hopefully more accessible for our coaches, because obviously costs go down without having to fly people around the Caribbean. So that's the intention.
Okay, well, that's great to know that that's what Cricket West Indies is looking at. Now, you spoke to some women having been involved in the coaching program. Were they there with the idea to coach females only, or do you think that we can have a situation where male players are actually, because let's not make any joke about it, we still have a lot of masculine ideals out there where we think, it's still a man's sport. Do you see these women, coming into their own in terms of being able to coach, or males, and I mean like at maybe an under 19 level or so, on the field of play, not necessarily at our primary school or younger levels, right? But do you see them coming into their own to coach the under 19s or first division type cricket?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think the days of thinking that it's, so you've got to coach women if you're a female coach and men if you're a man, and never the two shall cross. I think they're done. I think if you look worldwide, there's women coaching in NBA basketball. There's women cutting across and coaching professionally in men's cricket. So I think that divide's sort of being left behind. I think the women on the course held their own for sure against the men, and to the point where I was actually saying that some of these ladies could actually run these courses in the near future, which would be huge.
Not could, will. Let's try that. Not could, will.
Yeah.
Will. Let's try
exactly.
will.
That's a better way of putting it. But they were fantastic, and I think we even had conversations on the spot about making sure that they're integrated into some talent programs. We've got so many tournaments ramping back up that we do need hands on deck. So all of the junior tournaments that are coming up regionally, the senior women's tournament, for instance. So all of these programs just provide fantastic opportunity for coaches like we just mixed with on the weekend, who were very, very competent and very confident as well. They really own their space and did a great job. So they did lead the way, and it'd be great to see them involved in, I guess, the more high performance of cricket for sure.
So kudos to them then. I'm glad you mentioned the different types of leagues that are coming on board, because I want to look at that, because there's always this debate over the coaching for a test as opposed to coaching for a one day, as opposed to coaching for 2020s.
Yeah, I think one of the hardest things about it is the scheduling. So if you're coaching all three formats, you're basically just on the road non-stop. So it's not really sustainable for anyone who might have a young family or whatever. So straight away it excludes a whole cross-section of the community. I think what you're going to see in time is, and you're already starting to see it, is more specialisation. I mean, the different formats do require very different thinking, very different planning. And with the schedule, they're often sort of it's hard to sort of plan ahead for white ball tournaments and different things down the track when you've got a big test series staring right at you. So the coaches that do it, like Phil Simmons and the current people around the world who are doing all three, it's a huge effort, but I think the schedule will dictate that we'll need some more hands on deck. And what that will also mean is not just coaches, but we need more S&Cs, we need more sports psychologists, we need more team managers, we need all of these resources that sit around a high performance program. So there's going to be so much more opportunity, not just in coaching, but in high performance sport. So I think as a system, we need to make sure that we've got people from the region who are ready to not just contribute to the regional teams, but also to be able to export around the world,
because we need to export that talent. And I was about to ask you that in terms of Cricket West Indies, how have they been ramping up their programming and what it is they have to offer in terms of being able to cater to all of these needs that you just pointed out?
Yeah, so I mean, firstly, the tournament schedule is now back. We've had 2 years without sort of the underage tournaments and some of the women's cricket tournaments. There's going to be a lot of opportunity within that. So I think the women's starts in June, and then the junior tournaments, under 19s female, the boys 17s, 19s, 15s roll out later in the year. So that's going to be a huge boost for our system. I think the other thing, Wendy, that we've just launched recently is the CWI Emerging Player Academy, which essentially is addressing a bit of a gap in our pathway. We've got a lot of talented 19s to sort of 23 sort of age range. So these are players who aren't necessarily contracted at first class level or actually having playing opportunities. So what we're saying is we need something in place to sort of bolster their chances of becoming world class. And that's why we've rolled out the academy concept. So that kicks off in July. So we're going to see initially 15 of our best male players from around the region come in, take part in a camp, an induction camp.
No females. I heard that very clearly.
Yeah, so you got me on that, Wendy. Yeah, so we've got to. I guess because we haven't seen a lot of female cricket, it's too early to make a call on who, our depth charts as to who exactly is going to be in that program. But through the women's in June, the 19s in July, we're going to be doing a lot of depth charting to work out what that intake looks like for the female players, and that'll be coming online shortly after. So they won't be left out, and it is very exciting times. But I think just coming back to what those players experience, so they're going to have access to the high performance facilities at Coolidge Cricket Ground, which we're currently building out. But they'll also have access to the range of resources that sit around a high performance program. Now, that range of resources isn't going to sit there full time either. So we're going to have coaches, strength and conditioning coaches, potentially sports psychologists, player development managers, assistant coaches, all of these people coming and going in through the academy. To try or to actually see what a high performance environment looks like and how to sort of integrate those resources. So if I'm an S&C, it's not about working in isolation. How do I actually cut across and work with the coaches in the other realms to make sure these players are getting the best high performance experience they can? And then from there, go back into their regions and be able to contribute even more locally as well. So it's very much a systems build that we're looking to do with that academy concept.
Well, let's wishing you and all the other coaches the best of luck there, Chris, with that academy and developing our talent, because we need some more series wins under our belts. The West Indies must once again be king of this game. Yes?
100%, and hopefully it's coming. We're climbing. We're moving.
Yes, we're moving, and you're helping us to get there. Mr. Chris Brabazon, who's the Coach Development Manager with Cricket West Indies, thanks for coming in and doing the sessions. I know it was a hectic week for you, but I hope you got to enjoy a little bit of Barbados too.
Yeah. Flying fish burgers, the works of
awesome.
Awesome. Great.
Best thing ever. Well, have a great morning, and it was great having you here on Morning Barbados.
No worries. Thanks very much, Wendy. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye. When we come back, it's going to be time to get fit with Thornwood, and we'll see what we'll be doing out there on the floor.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Place like home. But over the past year, home has taken on an especially significant meaning for most. At times, staying at home may be limiting, but it doesn't need to be boring. If you're someone who is great at the DIY life and you've made your home a haven for creating and making new things, this is the show for you. Send us an email at morninbarbados@cbc.bb and share how you've been making it from home.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted, email us at morninbarbados@cbc.bb. Let us show the world our exceptional Bajan youth.
This fitness segment is brought to you with the compliments of Powerade, Feel the Power, and Dasani Water. Connect mind and body.
And it's time to talk fitness this morning. I'm with Thornwood and Shad Fort, and they will be telling me about what this morning?
Today, last week, Wendy, we were talking about, motivation and, how that affects your journey and really getting your mind and setting it forward for whether it be fitness or just life in general.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're going to talk about a few key points where motivation is concerned. And that one of those key points is goal setting. So how the type of goal you set, how long is it going to be for? How big is the goal? How small? Is it achievable in this particular time frame? Where are you at now in your quality of life and your journey that can connect with said goal?
Okay.
So you're not, for instance, you're not gonna wake up one morning out of your bed and decide, I want to go to the Olympics tomorrow. There's a ton of variables to come in. Is the Olympics this year? Who are the other athletes that are competing? How much training do you need to put in? Like, what does your diet need to look like? Right. So those are the various key points that we're going to talk about this morning. Let's try to compartmentalize it a little bit and make it, compress it a little bit and digestible.
So we don't take too much big nuggets, just some small ones
Exactly,
that matter.
Exactly.
Oh.
So the key ones, remember a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about, what can I do to get myself in shape for summertime? And what my saying is?
Yeah, you told me I have to start.
Let me hear it. Let me hear it.
You said to get my summer body, I have to start in winter.
Correct. Summer bodies are made in winter.
But the AC is cold, so this is my winter. So I want my summer body now.
I'm sure if that floats your boat, Wendy.
Yes. No.
Like I said, there's nothing to say that you can't achieve a particular goal between now and summer. It's just that it would not be the same goal as if you had started in winter. Alright? So I'm not saying that to tell people you can't get a particular goal, you can't see a particular change by July, June.
But that's more time for me to fall off the wagon, right?
No, that's not what we're saying. So now we can move on to the first topic of this morning, which is moving the goal post, Wendy. So the goal post, we are here, the goal post is here. We reach here. We move the goalpost here. You see how we're walking with it?
Yes. Always coming forward.
Always moving forward. Always moving forward. So
no regression.
So that's a key point. So now you don't give yourself time to fall off, because there's always a point that you can reach that's within your distance that you're going to go. So whether it be, you have to be honest with yourself, with your goals. That's a key point.
It's true.
So you have to know
never
that.
Never lie to the person in the mirror.
Yeah, never lie to the person in the mirror. That's a bad place to start, guys. So if you keep moving the goalpost and you set it in a distance that is attainable for you to reach every single time, that you get here, okay, I have another one to go. So the potential to fall off becomes less. You're trying to mitigate that. Okay. And I know Chad can speak on that from his experience as well.
For sure. Yeah. Like you said about moving the goalpost, I think it's important to find as many ways as you can celebrate yourself. So small micro habits or micro doses of self-celebration is important to keep you on track, right?
But
if you think from
not
physically, but even something as simple as, did you get your water intake for the day? Somebody may have this grand goal of losing 50 pounds, and then every time they're checking the scale, they're deducting what they've done against that large goal, that macro goal, right? But if they microdose it in the sense of, did I drink my water for the day? Did I eat my fruit for the day? Did I eat my packaged meals for the day? whatever metrics you're grading your progression on, have a large one but have a small one.
Okay.
That small one, that's giving you that constant dopamine release of, I did a good job, I did a good job. And anything you positively reinforce for yourself, whether it's for your benefit or not, you'll be able to uptake as a habit.
Okay,
Have your
interesting.
premise reflect your conclusion. Big shout out to my critical
teacher.
thinking lecturer
Yes.
there.
Yeah, teacher.
And
no
Brandon.
procrastination.
No procrastination. So you want your premise to reflect that. You know, you want your journey. So like he's saying about that's another thing that's important. You got to try to recognize the rewards at every part of the journey. I find people get caught up with the fact that I don't want to lose 50 pounds, and then they get, well, I've only lost 10 pounds, I've only lost 20 pounds, and then, you know, I want to lose 50 pounds by this particular time, and it ends up not looking, it may or may not look like you're about to reach that goal in a specific time, but like you've lost 20 pounds that you didn't
Celebrate
before.
yourself.
Yeah, you did not celebrate.
Pause the thought. We'll come back and tell you more about how you can celebrate and where to set those goalposts.
This fitness segment is brought to you with the compliments of Powerade, Feel the Power, and Dasani Water. Connect mind and body. This fitness segment is brought to you with the compliments of Powerade, Feel the Power, and Dasani Water. Connect mind and body.
Well, before you went off, Clay, we were talking about taking it in bite-sized pieces, Thorn, and that's what we need to do. Even if it's drinking the water, whatever it's doing, we need to get it in small doses. Now, yesterday, there's some things that we don't want in doses at all, and that's bad news. And yesterday, we heard of the untimely and unfortunate passing of Blacks. Yes, and as a dance man and a crossover lover like myself, you know, you two would have been, you know, familiar with a lot of what he's doing. And you know, in terms of when loss comes and you're on that fitness goal, how can we continue to motivate mind?
That is an excellent question, and I feel that comes with the same thing we spoke about initially with understanding where you're at and not recognizing failure as also part of the journey. You know what I mean? So when you've already received, when you've lost a certain amount of weight, you've not made it to that particular goal, you have to recognize that this is a key point. I've made it up to this point. Now what? Failure is also the teacher of success. And that's what I like people to understand. Right? So you can fail at a point, but that is something that is now teaching you, okay, well, this is what I need not to do, and this is what I need to do after this point, if that makes any sense. Yes. So if you make it from point A, you want to get to point C. If you made it from point A to point B, and for whatever reason you couldn't make it to C, then you know there's something that needs to change. So therefore, improvement can happen.
Right. Okay, well, I want to thank you, Chad Forbes and Thorn Wood, for joining us this morning. And as we said, the popular soca star Dexter Stewart, better known as Blacks, he passed away yesterday at the Arima Hospital. Let's leave you with it. I'm Wendy Burke. Thanks for watching Morning Barbados.
This fitness segment is brought to you with the compliments of Powerade, Feel the Power, and Dasani Water. Connect mind and body.
Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Right.